Some shows lean left, some lean right, but we lean local and business. This is North Georgia Business RadioX with Bo Henderson. For the next hour, we will celebrate the businesses in our area and the people that run them. Find us on Facebook at North Georgia Business RadioX and online at northgeorgiabusinessradiox.com. Now, here's Bo Henderson.
One of the things about a community, about our downtown area, about North Georgia, if you ask people what they like, what's going to come up, or maybe it's just me, maybe I'm biased, but it's going to be food. So today we're going to talk to somebody who's going to talk to us about food, talk to us about running a restaurant. It's Scott Dixon from Scott's Downtown. How's it going, Scott?
Oh, great, Bo. Really good to be with you today. Thanks.
Well, as I was thinking about us having this conversation today, I was thinking, there might be easier businesses to get into and attempt than a restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of joke that it takes a special kind of stupid to do what we do. I mean, we work when everybody else plays. We work long hours. The margins in our business are tighter than a lot of businesses. And there's so many different variables that go into it, and we can talk about a lot of those. But it's definitely not the easiest way to make a living. But it takes a passion, and you've got to love it to be able to do it and be successful at it.
No, you hit that. I was going to say this has to be something you really just have a passion for, because to do it because it's a good idea to be seen around town, it's not going to last very long, is it?
Not really. No, I mean, it's like everybody thinks, oh yeah, it's so glamorous, and I would challenge anybody to come walk a week in these glamorous shoes.
Right. Well, I don't know if you remember this conversation. This is a while back, but you were just describing to me one time about, you're dealing with perishable food, the timing, you're dealing with employees and turnover, you're dealing with shifts and market fluctuations. It's a lot going on. You're like a general manager of 5 different businesses, it feels like.
It is. It's pretty interesting. And I used to do some entrepreneurial talks and kind of talk about business in general after I'd, been in the business and had the business. And, I got heckled one time believe it or not, I was having this, doing this one talk, and the guy was like, well, restaurant, that's not real business. That's not a real business. And, and it's funny because I was very prepared, because at one time, over the years, I've had the conversation with my mother as she told me, you should get a real job and those sort of things, is that, that let me talk about what this real job is. And literally we're doing just-in-time production and manufacturing with perishable inventory, with immediate consumption of your product, dealing with one of the worst labor markets and labor segments that there is at any time.
Right.
And we do it again every single day from scratch. So, you're looking at, a business and, just some round numbers of my business. So say pre-COVID, I was a $1.5 to $1.75 million a year small business with 27 employees. And we had perishable inventory. We inventoried, 150 plus items of what we have. So there's so many moving parts. There's so many variables that, at any given time, you're a chef, you're a plumber, you're an HR manager, you're the marketing director, you're the accountant, the bookkeeper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many different hats. And in some days you wear every one of those hats.
Right. Well, one of the things I know is to lead something like a restaurant, you have to be involved. But how important, you talked about turnover and markets, how important is it to have the right team around you to pull this off?
Well, I mean, it's infinitely important, and also becomes one of our biggest challenges. And the restaurant business has always had the challenge of finding help, especially when there's a decent economy and lower unemployment. I mean, typically we are a business where people are going to somewhere or coming from somewhere.
In between.
We're an in-between place. We're a stopgap. They're doing this because, they had a job that they lost and they're looking for another job, or they're finishing school and they're working toward doing something. And, always the whole thing, the struggling actor or whatever, this is how you pay the bills while you're looking to do what you really want to do. And it really is, that is the challenge, and you also have the people that this is their vocation. This is what they want to do. They love serving. They love this industry. They love hospitality. You get to throw a dinner party every night and interact with different people and have that. So, you've got that full gamut, but it's really is difficult, especially in a good economy, of finding people.
And keeping good people, I'm sure. Well, one of the things I would think the listeners would appreciate, we've seen you around town for a long time, and there's a history, but what is that? Tell us kind of the history, 2 parts, Scott. Why Gainesville and why North Georgia? And then kind of just share with us kind of the evolution of Scott's as we know it here.
Sure. Well, Kay and I ended up in Gainesville. We ended up here about probably about 15, 16 years ago. We moved up from Alpharetta where we were living. And we kind of chose Gainesville as, when we weren't working and I was out of the business at the time. Kay was she was an agent working, she worked for State Farm. So, we were kind of different. I was a marketing director for a technology company and had worked in the business, pretty much most of my life. But, my undergraduate's marketing, and my graduate in marketing as well. So, I've always that part of I love business. But we moved up here because we were always at the lake. When we weren't working, we were at the lake, and we had a sailboat, and we'd come up and we'd spend the weekends on the lake. And we just decided, one day it's like, this is where we want to be when we're not working. This is where we should move our home to be. And so we did. We moved up here, and then for the first year or so, we both commuted back into Alpharetta and Duluth from where our respective jobs were. And it was a lot better than fighting in Alpharetta traffic all the time. Even though the commute might have been a little bit longer. So that's how we ended up in Gainesville, and the company that I was working for got bought out, and we didn't want to move to Chicago to move with the execs. And so we said, had been downtown, and we said, we love Gainesville. I said, but there wasn't a lot of great restaurants here then. Mm-hmm. The square was, at that time, was at a down, kind of a valley of its vitality. I think there was about 55% occupancy downtown when we were first looking downtown. And, I came upon a little spot that had been a dress shop and had been a restaurant, and that wasn't there anymore. And, it was kind of had a, for sale sign on the window. I kind of scratched my head, and I said to Kay, I said, this might be the perfect place to do that restaurant I always wanted to do of my own. And that conversation took place in September of 2007. We opened the doors on December 10th of 2007.
You didn't waste any time.
We got it. We put it together and made it happen. Yeah. So.
Well, speaking of that too, I remember that time that you're talking about. It was almost heartbreaking to me. I would see people try to get a business launched off the square. And then a few months later, I'd see them kind of moving out. So it's really just to think about that period of time to some of the things we see that have anchored and are flourishing now. It's really been it has me optimistic about this community and what we're building over there.
Oh, I mean, the difference is it really is monumental. And there were so many people that that believed in Gainesville and believed at that point that kind of had the vision of where it could go. We saw so many downtowns across the the northern suburbs that had built up and that had begun to flourish, and there was kind of that recipe of what worked in those different communities. And it was one of the things, I think, some of the important things for me about doing that, not just building a solid business and giving people what they were looking for and doing it consistently and providing good food and service and all that, all ultimately important, but it was really plugging in and getting involved in Gainesville and putting in the effort to do our part to help the greater whole as well. So, I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I got involved with the Main Street, the Main Street, downtown group, and anything I could do along those lines to, because I was a Gainesville outsider, which threw a ton of things against me to begin with, because Gainesville is I think was a very, very close-knit, tight community. There were the people that were, definitely were wanting growth and wanting change and all that, but there was a very core group of people that everything was good. Status quo was okay. And if you weren't from around here, it was kind of different. So I was very fortunate to come in, and people embraced me and being out there and being involved in meeting so many people. And I think that, they saw I wasn't just here for that part, that I really did see the bigger picture and wanted to work to help accomplish that as well.
Well, and I've noticed that too, that to accomplish what you've accomplished, you do from outside, you have to engage and immerse here for people to say, hey, they're going to be part of this community.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I think it pans out. Well, let's talk about the move. So you established at the original location, and then the move, we got this amazing spot and building with more space than I would know what to do with down at the end of the Bradford Street.
Exactly. So yeah, we were coming up to the end of the first part of our first lease for the first 5 years there. There on Main Street. Which was interesting. I mean, and it was quite the ride. I mean, we went through opening in December of 2007. So, that was really when things were just starting to, there wasn't even really a kind of the inkling of what was to to come in the next 18 to 24 months. And then, and then the world kind of, crashed and, for a lot of people's worlds. We saw that downturn probably the latter half of 2009. And there were conversations that were had in the fourth quarter of 2009 of, okay, what are we going to do?
Right.
Are we still going to be here in 2010? What changes do we have to make? And literally today, and I still have in my office, I've got a piece of craft paper that we stuck up on the wall and kind of just went down. It's like, okay, here's the options. Here's what we got to do. We have to make a decision today if we want to be here tomorrow and any other tomorrows. And, and it took some hard decisions. It took kind of dialing it back down a little bit to the business level, me retaking on more responsibilities of the hands-on day-to-day stuff, which, has happened back and forth numerous times since then. But so the point being that we'd weathered that and we got to the end of this lease, to answer your question. And we were like, okay, maybe we want to buy the building, and we had some challenges dealing with our with our landlord. Wasn't the best relationship and didn't end up well, and so we said, we had we knew the folks that owned the Pilgrim Estes building.
Right.
I knew it had been a couple of failed gyms over the time and had been sitting empty for a while. And we were originally looking just to do something there as just an event space because we knew the Georgia Mountain Center was transitioning over to Bernal, and that we did a lot of catering there. So we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to replace some of that business because it was a decent portion of our business at that time. And so we thought, okay, we'll do the event space over there. And then one thing led to another. It didn't work out with the landlords there, and we decided, let's just take it and we'll move the whole operation. And my wife will say, she says, didn't you always tell me you should never move a restaurant? I said, yes, but.
That's right.
So, so we ended up doing that. And it was either the thing as I was either going to be a hero or a zero.
Right. It's going to go or not.
Right.
No,
so, I went from 3,700 square feet to 20,000 square feet on the 2 floors. We put the loft and the event space upstairs, which was great having that inside. And we were able to build a bigger bar and lounge and have the dining room there as well as some private dining rooms. And, and as it bears out, it turned out that it was a pretty good decision.
It worked out. We're talking to Scott Dixon of Scott's Downtown. I'm Bo Henderson. You're listening to North Georgia Business Radio, the voice of local business. We'll be right back with a lot more from Scott. Scott, I want to talk when we come back. So we talked a little bit about the new business, but I want to keep going on the components, the restaurant, the lounge, and talk a little bit about what you have to offer there.
Absolutely. Sounds great.
We'll be right back. We're talking about food, and we're talking about one of our great local restaurants, Scott's Downtown. I'm here with Scott Dixon, and Scott, we're talking a little bit about the location on Bradford Street, and we're talking about the event facility, which is phenomenal. I mean, you can even expound more on what kind of events can you handle there, because it's a huge, you said 20,000 square foot total, the whole building.
The whole building, yes.
Right, and so let's talk a little bit about that, but then I want to get into breaking down what's going on in the restaurant, and then there's a really cool little lounge on the backside there. So let's just kind of break it down for people listening to see, okay, what's Scott's all about? Why maybe I should just stop by.
Absolutely. So yeah, there really are a lot of components to what we are. We've got some, I guess, what we say, kind of multiple personalities. So we've got the loft, we've got the event space upstairs. It's 10,000 square feet, and we can really configure that space anywhere from about 30 people up to we could really seat 500 people up there.
Wow!
And we've done that a couple of times with some of our larger clients that we've done events for. But the events run the gamut. They run the gamut from business dinners and meetings to fundraising events to some of the things. Of course, Gainesville's famous for a lot of the charity type events,
right,
and those type of events, and we've been able to host a lot of those. We've had numerous proms up there from local schools and all around kind of the northern area. We've done weddings, we've done bat mitzvahs, we've done quinceañeras. I mean, any type of lifestyle or life cycle type event, it's a perfect opportunity and perfect use of the space for something that, wants to be in the building. The building's got such great bones. I mean, we've got, beautiful, oak floors upstairs. You've got some of the exposed brick and that sort of thing, the tin ceilings, and we've kept a lot of that of the natural, part of the building, of the Pilgrim Estes building that was, rebuilt after the tornadoes.
Right.
So it's got great bones. It's a great building. It's got a good feel to it. And we really like that. So there's a lot that can happen up there, and we cater it, and So you've got Scott's food that's there. So you've got a beautiful space. You've got our quality and level of service as well as our food. So that's it's just really kind of a turnkey deal. And you got Kay to work with, who just can take care of all the details, and she is so incredibly detail oriented, and we have so many of the folks that do events with us that say that was the best part, you made it so easy,
right?
And and she knows how it's done, and she knows the pitfalls and the pratfalls of all the different types of event, and she's super organized and can really from start to finish and really make it happen. So that's really probably one of even the better things about what it is that we do, that you get her to be able to help facilitate your event.
Kind of almost a project manager. Here's my goal. Here's my objective.
Absolutely. And she can take all of that and take some of the stress out so that you actually get to enjoy your event.
So we're talking about Kay at Scott's running point. If you have any events or anything you'd like to look at coming up. But she also has another role, another job, as Scott's wife.
Well, that's probably
that might not be on her resume. I don't know.
That's probably her toughest job, and but Kay has evolved to really be a lot like me in the restaurant. There is almost no position that she can't work in that building now and do it probably better than the people that are doing it. Everything other than the hotline in the kitchen, she can jump in and execute that job. And there's some that she likes better than others, and some that she'd rather not do. But being small business owners, again, those are all those hats that we put on that we have to do. So between the two of us, I mean, there's nothing in the restaurant that we can't do in the positions, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's so powerful because we can jump right in, pick up the ball, and not skip a beat. But at the same time, sometimes it's just exhausting when you have to be the one doing it.
Right.
But fortunately for our business, we don't have to look to some of the outside or go without or miss a night or miss something if we have a critical or crucial link in that chain that's not there.
A person calling in is not going to stop the show, right?
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the restaurant. One of the things I remember you saying that there's a lot of restaurants out there that have an identity crisis. So let's talk about the identity and the restaurant at Scott's.
First and foremost, I mean, we're casual fine dining. So I mean, so the casual part is really the part, they're each equally important. I want you to feel, I don't care if you're coming off the lake, if you've just been running around picking up the kids, you have a business meeting, you're in black tie going to a show or a fundraiser or any of those sort of things. We're there for you to come in and enjoy what it is that we do. So that's, so shorts to sequins is kind of the...
It's all appropriate.
Yeah, it is appropriate. We said, please just don't wear them together. and then the fine dining part is that we focus on the quality of what we present, from the raw materials to how we prepare to how we plate and present to you, are all the little details, and the devil's in the details that way. So, one of my little catchphrases I kind of learned over the years is that, you really want to strive for excellence in every element. There's all of those moments of truth, from the time you walk in the front door till you walk back out it. There's all those little things that for me that need to be perfect. The table needs to be clean and set, the silverware in the right place, the glasses polished, your service staff, friendly and presentable and knowledgeable, the food fresh and hot and good tasting and all of those things, and just all of the little details along the way.
Well, and that's it. But from the staff to going in, it's an experience as the product to an extent. But how fast could bad food ruin that experience for somebody and their relationship with the restaurant?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and all of those things. A lot of people will give. Everyone has their particular, not really pet peeve or the thing that they look for. If they'll come in and they'll excuse maybe not the best service if the food's excellent or the environment's good, or maybe their food wasn't the best, but gosh, they really had exceptional service at a place or all that. And each one of those little tripping points, so people will give you. I think that there's less tolerance now than there ever has been in restaurants. God bless the Food Network and curse the Food Network at the same time, because everybody's a foodie and everybody thinks they know something about it, but also now so many people are are so interested in great food and great dining experiences, and they have a knowledge of ingredients and preparations and all that. So it really that runs the gamut, and it's a blessing and a curse at some times. You've got the people, and there's kind of a joke in the restaurant business, and I may get in trouble for saying this, but if somebody leads with the fact that, hey, we're foodies,
right,
guess what? You're never going to make them happy.
That's right. That's a warning sign.
It's kind of a warning sign in the restaurant business. It kind of depends on how they say it, because we do have some folks that truly are foodies that love and appreciate what we do. It's the ones that just kind of think that they are, And I know I'm going to regret saying this, but it's just one of the parts of it. We have to cater to all the different personalities. So somebody, if they're coming in for a business meeting, they're coming in for a birthday or an anniversary celebration or any of those things. Everything they're coming in for, it's something that's special for them.
Very good. So Scott can handle it all. When we come back, I want to talk more about the elephant in the room this year, how that's changed the restaurant business, what you're doing to navigate 2020. I'm Bo Henderson here with Scott Dixon from Scott's Downtown. We'll be back with more on North Georgia Business Radio when we come back. We can host any kind of event at Scott's Downtown. I never thought I would see a restaurant where you could host a prom, and Scott's done it multiple times, so I'm impressed just with that. And if you ever go upstairs, you'll see how. It is just massive. And then we talked about the fine dining, and not just the food and the attention to detail on putting out a good product with the food, but also having a good experience. And the other takeaway is that it can be for any kind of event, meaning you're coming off the lake, you said, we're coming to a business meeting, maybe date night. It all works there. And Scott's worked very hard to create an atmosphere where that works. Now, there's one other area that we didn't get to yet is, hey, maybe you want a nightcap after dinner, want to have a drink. And on the back, if you walk through the restaurant area or you come in through the back, we have a nice lounge. So let's talk a little bit about the lounge there.
So the lounge is, it was one of those things that part of the reason for the move we talked about earlier is that we had just a pretty small bar that was really integral in the restaurant at the old location. And people said, oh, God, we wish we had a bigger lounge. We wish, this was larger, a larger bar, that sort of thing. And so we were able to accomplish that when we took this space. There was a perfect location for it as it sits there in the, on what people think of as the back side of the restaurant. Even, right. It's got its own entrance on Main Street and, the main entrance on Bradford Street. And the funny part of it is just kind of we talking about business, and here's something unique about business. People scream they want something, and you give it to them. And literally for the first year and a half, the people they just didn't catch on to it. They screamed they wanted it, and literally, I had to subsidize kind of the pay of my bartenders for the first year and a half that we were there, because number one, it was on the wrong side of the building. Had the bar been on the front of the restaurant, which being the front being on Bradford Street, where kind of the traffic buzz and the flow is, there's there were other restaurants, there's other shops, there's a lot more activity on that side. Then I think that it wouldn't have taken the ramp up time that it did. So, it became a business problem for us. Okay, how do we promote this? What do we offer here to really make it appealing? And, we went through iterations of, this kind of menu, that kind of menu, these things on there, offering the dinner menu as well as a lounge menu, the drink offering, personalities behind the bar and that sort of thing. And, and for a bar, personality's key. And so, people relate to people differently, and you want to have that right personality mix for the service staff. So it's a little more casual atmosphere. It's still Scott's, it is still the quality of what we do, and I don't care if you're having, if you're just having, a risotto bowl with salmon on it, or like chicken fingers or something. It's still my food. It's still Scott's quality. It's it's prepared with the same attention to detail as any other thing. I don't care if you're having surf and turf or you're having chicken fingers. We put everything into it, and we're going to give you the best product we can for that.
Well, I think to describe it, and you might have a better way to describe it, is I'm glad we call it a lounge. I'm glad because it's a nice place to have a drink, right?
Absolutely.
There's some bars, and they're bars, and they're not necessarily where I'd want to meet a first date necessarily, or a business meeting, but it's a nice atmosphere, and there's plenty of room. And kind of like the front side, it's kind of appropriate for a lot of different get-togethers and scenarios.
Absolutely, and it is fitting, and it's just kind of it's another one of those of our personalities. It's a little more casual. We don't have host seating there, so it's kind of first come, first served seating. It's got a different vibe. It's people coming after work and meeting there. And we've got several groups that we see throughout the week, and we know that on, Tuesdays that we'll probably see this group of friends or professionals. On Wednesday with Wine Lovers Wednesday, and that's kind of special that we do. I know that group that we're going to see, and I know the group that's going to be there on Thursday because, on Thursdays we've got live music and, and Eduardo in the lounge, and they want to come and be a part of that. And, then there's the people that'll come prior to dinner, or like you mentioned earlier, after their dinner in the main dining room, they want to come down and have an after dinner drink or something just to relax to, kind of that next part of their evening. So yeah, it really is its own entity, yet it's another one of the very integral parts of the whole.
Yeah, it could stand alone in a way, but it's part of it's congruent with the whole. It is.
We joke that we could cut the building in half, and if we put a kitchen, kept the kitchen with the lounge or the kitchen with the dining room, they could both stand on their own.
Well, I'm here talking with Scott Dixon of Scott's Downtown, and we're talking about the Scott's, all the components. We talked about the event space, the restaurant, the lounge. And Scott, one of the things I'd love to talk about now is this hasn't been a normal year, right? And we talked about 2009 when you felt the brunt of the real estate correction or crash. What's it been like this year?
Well, I can tell you, it's, and I'm far from being the Lone Ranger, and it's nothing you could have ever planned for. It's nothing that anybody ever could have seen coming, really, even. Right. It's been tough. For so many reasons, but just from a business standpoint, I mean, we went from, just to kind of give you an example, on March 15th of this year, mm-hmm. my business was at the absolute pinnacle of it's ever been. We had finished up, 2019 up about 15% in our 12th year in business as a mature restaurant, and we're still growing at 15%. Huge numbers.
Right.
We had grown at about 12 the year before, and then had started out 2020 on a pace to even beat that and beat those numbers. Nothing could have been better.
Right.
And then nothing was worse.
I've heard that feedback so many times is that, hey, the way this year started, it was true in my business too, is just, it's almost looking back, what if this hadn't happened? What could this year have been?
It was, and we were so excited about that, and we were making changes. We were adding people. I had added staff, and we were building to take it to the next level. And who would have ever thought in our 13th year? But we were so excited about it. And then you look at it, and you look at it from a personal and a business owner standpoint. I mean, you just talk about it, just a kick in the gut, is that you go from the top of the heap to nothing. I mean, I literally went from my business being worth X and put whatever number you want on that to today it's worthless. Right. And I say it's worthless because who wants a restaurant right now? We're at about 60% of our volume, which to me is like, it's just horrible. I mean, but I hear from suppliers and from other restaurateurs around the country that, wow, people would beg for that. I mean, I guess so. It's all relative, and we're here and we're working. But if I wanted to walk away today, I'm back where I was in 2007. I've got nothing. I mean, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment are worthless because there have been so many restaurants that have become casualties of this. So restaurant equipment has no value to it, and who in their right mind would ever want a restaurant at this point, still not knowing what tomorrow's going to bring. So we've gotten to the point where we're getting people back into routines and things like that, but it's far from being what normal was. And if I hear somebody say the new normal, I'll probably smack them at that point.
It's an overused phrase at this point.
It is, because I don't want the new normal. I just want normal. I just want people to be able to come out and enjoy themselves. I want my business travelers to start traveling again. I want people to start having these lifestyle events. We've had so many weddings canceled,
right,
and events like that that they're just gone.
Well, so as we see things today, things are open, the restaurant's open, but there was a period there where things shut down. So how did you navigate that?
We were dark for 63 days.
Well, over 2 months. Wow.
So, obviously no one knew what was coming or what we were faced with. So the first part of it, when we knew we had to shut down, we took it as an opportunity. We wanted to keep our people busy. We wanted to keep the people because we had really had a great team and built the team. So we started out by bringing people in one or two at a time in a 20,000 square foot building. And we said, okay, silver lining. When do you ever get a chance to really clean and repair your restaurant when you're trying to do business? So we started with that, and we took the kitchen down to the walls and to the baseboards and cleaned and scrubbed and steam cleaned every piece of equipment, everything in there. We repainted the kitchen. We redid the floors in the lounge. All the chairs got polished. All the floors got polished. Everything got really back to new. And so that was kind of the first month that we kept people spaced out because, we were, everybody was kind of terrified, what is this really all about, and what does it really mean to people? But we wanted to keep them busy. We wanted to keep them having an income. And then, we were able to get the PPP loan, fortunately, from that and the things that had come together. And so we were able to keep our people paid. The whole unemployment portion of it, that we could probably talk about that whole debacle, for an hour of kind of how that manifested itself in my business. We were paying people in unemployment more money than they've ever made in their life.
Right.
And
it creates some issues.
And it does. And initially it created issues. Oh, well, they don't want to work because they don't want to lose their income, of this windfall that they've had. And for some of it was an incredible windfall. So the PPP helped us to bring them back. But, I was paying bartenders and servers $900 a week just to keep them so that when we could turn the lights back on and open to the public, I'd have a staff. So there's that whole portion of it. And then the second month, we kind of sat at home, and we looked and said, okay, if we're not going to be working business, and Kay and I just kind of took an opportunity to take the time to really just kind of enjoy ourselves at home. We did some projects around the house. We had that downtime because in our business, we just don't have that. So it was kind of a glimpse at what normal life
might be like,
and after 13 years, so there was some positives of that, of what we may have to look forward to in the future once, we aren't doing the craziness that we do. That's the restaurant. So it was a lot, but the mental toll on it of having something that you've built to this pinnacle, and then all of a sudden it just be ripped out from underneath you and you feel like you're starting from scratch. There's a lot to that as well.
Well, the good news is, and I'm with you, I think there's been a lot of scenarios where this time, I know in our business, Scott, we were able to catch up on some components of our business that we were just so busy I don't know when we'd ever got it done. So I'm hoping when things get back that we're in a better position in 2021 than we would have been had we not had some of this flux like you're talking about.
And sure, and there was a couple of the folks, and fortunately in my business, one of the great things about it is the people, and I get to see some of these people, and I get to interact with really some of the amazing business leaders and social and business and community leaders in our community, and kind of have these conversations about things. And the general consensus is that once we get this figured out, whatever that means, that those of us that survive and come out the other end are going to be in such a great position to really even take it to a level that we hadn't anticipated back then. And we will have learned things, and we will be more nimble as organizations. And those of us that manage and like you and what you do with this is, and we talk and we learn and we love business and the processes. And so we will have done the work. We've done the mental work. We'll do those things and put these new processes in place and manage our business to what was thrown at us. And then ultimately at the end of that, then hopefully we'll be in a far better position than we were to begin with.
And that is a powerful point. When something like this happens, a shakeout tends to occur. We saw this in other industries in that last 2008.
Sure.
Right? And kind of the ones that are left standing are kind of the ones to take it for the next decade or so.
Right.
So good stuff. We're talking to Scott Dixon from Scott's Downtown, and we were talking about all kinds of stuff, but I really want to, when we come back, Scott, I want to talk about some of your food. I want to talk about specifics, things that might make our listeners say, I need to come get some of that.
Okay, absolutely.
So we're going to talk food, and I want to learn a little bit more about Scott specifically when we come back right here on North Georgia Business Radio X. We're to my favorite part. We're going to talk about food and dishes and Scott's favorites and reasons that we might, if you're listening, you might want to say, hey, I want to go there for lunch or a date night. I'm Bo Henderson here with Scott Dixon from Scott's Downtown. And Scott, let's do this. I've been waiting for this the whole show, and it's the fourth segment. So what are some of those Scott's dishes that you would call the real winners or your favorites?
Well, easily my favorite part too, and those of you that have seen me, you know that I don't miss a lot of meals, and but
here on this show we call it being healthy.
Being healthy.
That's
well,
right.
I'm definitely healthier than I should be. And I love food, and I can tell you that. So we said the old adage is never trust a skinny chef because that guy doesn't like food.
That's right.
And those of us that love food, and we get excited about it, and our customers and guests are the beneficiaries of that. But it's kind of the same thing when you talk about food. It's the same as a lot of things. If you get out of it what you put into it. Mm-hmm. So, if you start with fresh and you start with quality ingredients and all of those products, and then you transform it with talented people, you're going to come out the other side with just some really spectacular things. And they don't have to be fancy. They say they don't have to be so intricate. It can be as simple as a beautiful prime filet on a plate with a little bit of our compound steak butter and a sprig of rosemary for visual and for the, for some additional, little bit of smell in there as well.
I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to go to get that steak.
Yeah, let's go have a steak.
Okay,
I'm with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so, or it can be a composed dish like one of our composed dishes like my signature sea bass that we do, and it's got we start with it's a beautiful piece of sea bass, which is just such a buttery and wonderful fish. It's pan seared and then it's served. It's got a nice saute of fresh corn, leeks, spinach, grape tomatoes, and then we do a nice orange ale sauce where we take an ale and we use fresh squeezed orange juice to make the sauce. So not only is this a pretty decadent dish, but it's really actually pretty good for you. Everything there is super healthy. So you've got something that's just kind of almost as mouth-watering as that filet, but you've got the fish and the vegetables, and even the sauce is very light, but all of the flavors just really seem to pop. But some of the things we're really known for are those quality ingredients, and our beef specifically. We partner with our beef company. We work with Buckhead Beef and with Cisco, and so for our prime beef, and a lot of people may know, and I'll just really, really quick beef 101. So, beef is graded, on scale from prime down to, basically to old dairy cow type beef, and different food applications use that whole gamut. So, okay. So the prime really comes out of the top 2% of the beef stock in the country. So only, 2 out of 100 cows can be graded prime. And then out of those, we get really hand selected cuts that we want to bring into then, that we then fabricate into our steaks. So for our filet and for our ribeye, we offer that top USDA prime beef, Angus beef, and then we also offer what we call a branded or an upper 2/3 choice beef, which is kind of it's the next step down. Right. These are the cows that didn't quite make the prime grading, but are pretty darn close. And you're talking about, and then so we offer that as well. Obviously, there's a difference in price in the two, and a little bit difference in quality, but. Yeah, we have people that come. They want to do the Pepsi challenge, and some of us are old enough to remember what that was, where they put Coke and Pepsi up against each other and to see what was better. So we'll have a lot of tables. They'll come in. They'll be like, oh well, one will order the choice and one will order the prime, and they'll do a kind of a tasting to see which one they like better. The prime has never lost.
So there's a difference. Bar none.
So there is a difference, but it's the difference between great and exceptional, maybe. Right. So that's where the difference comes in. So. Start with the great raw materials, and our beef program is exceptional. And same with our fresh seafood and everything that we bring in. We source from responsible and reliable sources and really do the best that we can for availability. And some of that's really tough now as well, just because of the COVID and because of the supply chains. There are things we can't get. There's things we can't get as much of. We can't get quite what we had in the past. So there's some agility that's needed with some of the supply chain issues that we have of being able to get things in. And it runs the gamut from being sodas because there's an aluminum can shortage to getting to getting our beef because when the world was shut down for 60 days, they weren't slaughtering cattle. They didn't have all that, so we got to fill the supply chain back up. So all of those things. So those are additional challenges. But you talk about, so those are the things to come to Scott's for. So, kind of the top 5 things over the years. People love my bourbon salmon, and we use a nice wild caught salmon with that, with a nice bourbon glaze, and our beef, our fresh seafood, and whatever is the kind of the catch of the day. That's something where I let or have take off of my plate. In the past, my other chefs. Just kind of do some of their creativity and work with and do these creations. And oftentimes a lot of those will become standards on the menu. But those are kind of the tops of what we do. That, and you pair that with an incredible wine and cocktail list. I've got the best wine list in a large geographical area.
Got it.
For the number and the depth and breadth of what we offer, and our spirits as well. I mean, we've got some great things to come in to really suit most tastes.
So you've got the mouth watering, you got people thinking about this, and hey, next time you're thinking of like a good steak, think Scott's, right?
Absolutely.
So Scott, we just got a few seconds left here. This is a vision casting, the 2-sentence version of where you might see Scott's going in the next 2-3 years, if
Well, the vision casting is that we can get back to where we were pre-COVID and use that as the launch pad to take it to the next level that we had really hoped that we were going to be able to do. And
keeping that mature business growth. I mean, that was phenomenal, the 2019 numbers.
Absolutely.
Well, Scott, anybody wants to get in touch with you, is the best thing to do just to stop at the restaurant?
Absolutely. Or go to the website at scottsdowntown.com. All of the menus, all the information, everything's there, as well as some contact information. You can make a reservation there through the website. You can reach out to, there's an info page, or, if you seeking some information on catering or anything, it's all there. And that's the best way to get to us, and, or just pick up the phone and give us a call.
We've been talking to Scott Dixon from Scott's Downtown. Scott, thanks so much for coming on North Georgia Business Radio.
Absolutely. So great for you to have me, and great to be here with you today, Bo.
For those of you listening, go stop by Scott's Downtown, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place, right here on North Georgia Business Radio X.
You've been listening to North Georgia Business Radio X with Bo Henderson. What local business do you know that should be highlighted on our program? Let us know. Just search North Georgia Business Radio X on Facebook, or contact Bo at businessradiox.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time. And remember to support our local businesses.